Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is a video entitled A New WOD, New System, New World Darkness, New System. So as we know, at the end of 3rd edition, White Wolf killed off the World of Darkness and gave us a new World of Darkness. And with the new World of Darkness, they brought out a new set of Mind's Eye Theatre rules using a new system. So these were the books you had, quite nice, thick hardback books. This mirrored the tabletop where you had one core World of Darkness book, and then the main book for each one could focus on background and the rules for those systems: werewolf, mage, changeling, vampire. Whereas this gives you all the systems that you needed to know about. Talk a wee bit about the New World of Darkness. For me, it's an excellent toolbox. It captures the feel of the World of Darkness, a sort of a bleakness to it, the real shadow that would exist alongside the normal bright lights of the cities. And when I reflect back on now, I think it captured something that had been missing since 2nd edition. So I think V5 goes a long way to sort of trying to capture that essence of sort of 1st and 2nd edition, early 2nd edition. That kind of the meta plot kind of overrode in 3rd edition. For me, 3rd edition revised, much as I adored it, it's a really well written book. In terms of feeling, it started to feel a bit more like superheroes with fangs. Now, in terms of vampire setting, if you don't know Requiem, you have 5 clans and 5 covenants. So you'd be a member of one of the clans and one of the covenants. Covenants was a choice. Clans are obviously fixed by your blood. Now, there wasn't individual sects, there wasn't Camarilla Sabbat, there was one overriding, not even overriding city. Your cities were kind of very isolationist, and you kind of had some rules that Vampire Society kind of followed. Depending on your covenant, you might see different things changing with that. And for me, I really like the 5 clans in Requiem because each one had a much stronger vampire archetype. You had the Ventru, who were the lords and nobles, the Deva, who were the sort of sensualist vampires, the Meket, the secretive mystery vampires, the Gangrel, who were the gangrel shifting animalistic vampires, and the Nosferatu, based on the Nosferatu. And it really introduced some really cool ideas like the Predator's Taint, which worked really well in tabletop. Wasn't so great in live, and you had to have some sort of rules that meant you considered that in live. Predators was like the stronger predator would cow and make other predators, i.e. other vampires, flee from you, or have fight or flight reactions would be the best way to think about it. So not so great for our social game. So my honest thought was Requiem was a better system for vampire. Old World of Darkness, the Masquerade was probably the better setting for that. Which was a real shame because most of, I think, White Wolf's players, when the change, were probably as LARPers at the time. So suddenly, not only had their favourite product line being destroyed, you ended up with their main game live wasn't really the game they'd signed up for. And like I say, the end of the old world wasn't great because it also coincided with White Wolf suing its own fan group, the Camarilla. I'll do another video on all of this scandal, and pissed off loads of people. I picked up Requiem on its launch. I was working away, 2004 I think it was. I was working away from home and picked it up, and I had plenty of time in my hotel room to read it. I liked it, and like I said, there is much to like in it. One of the books I adore actually is The Blood, the Player's Guide to Requiem, where it talks about, say, the powers you use and what it actually looks and feels like in terms of a story, and all sorts of different elements of being a vampire and what that looks and feels like in terms of a story, rather than just mechanics and dots on the sheet. Like I say, a really well thought out product line. But I understand why people don't like it. I understand why people prefer Old World of Darkness, and I understand everything around it. And I did storytell and play Requiem in the Isles of Darkness, which was the Camarilla UK's organisation that followed. Played a Carthian Nosferatu. Also played Ventru Invictus, Professor Tobias, and Gaius Agrippa. So let's talk systems. Instead of rock, paper, scissors, which was a traditional setting for the masquerade, so rock, paper, scissors, I'll throw a symbol, rock, paper, scissors, and one beats the other. If you draw, you compare traits. What this did was take more of a role from its tabletop, so the systems would be effortlessly able to translate between the two. So what you would do is you'd take your attribute, you take your skill, and you'd apply any modifiers such as distractions or using better equipment. Then you would draw a card from 10 cards labelled 1 to 10. You would then total that up, and if your total was 10 plus, you've succeeded. So 10 or more was a success, and then every increment of 5 on top of that was another success. So if I total 20, I've got 1, 2, 3 successes. Relatively simple. So what would that start looking like? So I have 3 strength, I've got 2 brawl, I want to punch down a door, so I've got base of 5, the door's rated at 3 defense, so 3 off, so I've got a base of 2, so I'm needing to draw an 8 or more. Draw of a 1 was always a fail, and 10 you got to draw again. So in that instance, if I've got 2 remaining after I've reduced the door's resistance, I've drawn a 10, I've got a 12, I draw again, and I've got a 5, I've ended up with 17, 2 successes. What this does is allows the new World of Darkness to be a lot more granular than traditional Mind's Eye Theatre. You've got a lot more sort of points and things, and more of a direct correlation. You didn't have to write a whole new change for how a discipline works, because you've got the same mechanics, same dice pools, getting the same results. Against other people, it was always, like I say, your attribute, your skill, apply any modifiers, particularly taking off their defense. You would draw cards at the start to say, check initiative ratings, and you would just go down in order. Whoever's got the highest initiative can hold their action or act at that point. So for example, coming back, if I was wanting to punch somebody, strength and brawl, minus my opponent's defense and armor. Defense was always the lowest, you always had a defense, and it was always your lowest of dexterity or wits. And each success would do 1 point of damage. So I'm going to punch somebody, I've got 4 and 4, so that's 8. I'm just going to punch you. Your defense is 2, so my base pool is 6. I've drawn a card, I've got 6, 6 and 6 is 12, I've got 1 success, I've punched you for 1 point of damage. Relatively simple. Difficulties in the system was maybe keeping the deck of cards and shuffling and dealing with a deck of cards mid challenge. Could be awkward depending on the costuming. Obviously, stone, scissors, paper, not everybody, most people, the vast majority of people has hands free. So yeah, costuming could prevent you, but generally you could always just pull stone, scissors, paper wherever you were. So yeah, keeping cards. There was, if you didn't have cards, there was a finger race system. I can't quite remember how it worked. And you did stuff, and you took off your fingers from your opponent's fingers. It's written in the rule book, so there was an option if you didn't have cards. You could even roll a dice. I knew some storytellers would have a wee dice and find a wee table nearby. Other than that, with difficulties, sometimes I think you probably needed a storyteller more than you did with Mind's Eye Theatre to come and adjudicate some tests and challenges, just because of that assigning difficulty ratings to stuff, just to stand over sometimes a slightly more complex system than Mind's Eye Theatre. But from my games that I played, I think it rattled along okay. I can't remember it being particularly less or more sluggish than Mind's Eye Theatre. So it has been a good 10 years since I played the Requiem Met. So there you have it. I will have some videos. Maybe it's not live action videos. We'll talk about Requiem because and the New World of Darkness because I do adore it. But New World of Darkness, new system. Well, in fact, you can see here how much I've used this book. It's actually starting to come away from the bindings. But anyway, I'll start wandering now with my thoughts. So I will say goodbye and forward to chat to you in another video. And let us know how you're getting on. Bye for now.